Let me ask you something uncomfortable. You've worked on yourself, you've read the books, done the work, maybe even gone to therapy. You're building something, a career, a life, a version of yourself you're actually proud of. And yet, the women who should be drawn to you aren't staying. Or maybe the ones who do stay aren't the ones who actually challenge you, respect you, or see your value. And you've been told it's about looks, about money, about status, about playing games. But what if none of that is the real answer? What if the reason high-value women aren't locking in, the kind who are emotionally grounded, self-aware, and genuinely selective, isn't about what you have, but about something you've never been taught to do? What if the thing they're most attracted to is also the thing most men are terrified to show? Today, we're going into something most men completely ignore. 6 boundaries. 6 invisible lines that, when you draw them clearly and calmly, change the entire energy between you and a high-caliber woman. They don't just attract her, they filter out the ones who would have wasted your time, and they pull in the ones worth keeping. Stay until the end, because the 6th one, that's the one that changes everything. That's the one nobody talks about. And once you understand it, you'll never approach a relationship the same way again. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Most men were never taught how to have boundaries with women. Not real ones, not the kind that come from a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth. We were taught to be providers, to be available, to be agreeable, to show up, work hard, be consistent, and somehow that would be enough. That a good woman would see it and choose you. And for a while, maybe that worked, maybe it got you relationships, but did it get you the right ones? Did it get you a woman who respects your time, who doesn't test your patience every other week, who doesn't slowly, quietly reduce you to a version of yourself you don't even recognize? The men who attract high-value women, the kind who are emotionally intelligent, ambitious, grounded, loyal, aren't the most attractive, the most successful, or the most charming men in the room. They're the men who know who they are, and who make it absolutely clear, not through aggression, not through arrogance, but through quiet, unshakable certainty that they will not abandon that self for anyone. That's what a boundary is. Not a wall, not a test, not a game. It's a declaration of identity. It says, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and I will not compromise that core. Not for comfort, not for approval, not for love. And women who are truly high value, they don't just respect that, they're drawn to it like gravity. Let's talk about why. Before we go further, quick pause before we get into this, and I mean it when I say this content is different. If you've been watching for a while, you know I don't do surface level here. We go deep. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. And if this is already resonating with you, if you feel that pull of recognition, like part of you already knows this is true, drop a like on this video. Tells me you're ready to hear the real thing. And I want to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. I read them. Let's see who's here. Now let's get into it. Number 1, the boundary of unavailability. You are not always accessible, and that is power. Picture this. A man meets a woman. She's sharp, successful, the kind of woman who has options and knows it. He's interested, more than interested. He's been waiting for someone like her. And from the moment she responds to his first message, he is there. Instantly, every time. She texts at 11 p.m. and he responds within seconds. She cancels plans and he reschedules immediately. She goes quiet for a week and he reaches out, checks in, makes sure she's okay. He thinks this is how you show a high-value woman that you're serious. What she actually sees is a man with no life outside of her. A man so eager for her approval that he's restructured his entire existence around her availability. And here is the cold psychological reality of that. It destroys attraction. Not because women want to be ignored, not because playing hard to get is some magical strategy, but because when a man makes himself infinitely accessible, he is communicating something subconscious and devastating. I have nothing more important than your attention. A high-value woman is busy. She has a life she's built, goals she's chasing, energy she guards carefully. She is not looking for someone who will orbit her. She is looking for someone whose orbit she might want to enter. The boundary of unavailability is simple but profound. Your time is your most valuable resource, and you do not hand it out like it costs you nothing. This doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean making her chase you as a strategy. It means you genuinely have a life, a full one, and fitting her into it when she earns that space is a privilege, not a reflex. When a woman reaches a man who is not immediately available, who has his own rhythm, his own priorities, his own world, something shifts in her. Curiosity sharpens, respect deepens, because absence handled with dignity communicates this. I am not desperate for your validation. I am interested in you, but I am not defined by whether or not you choose me. That energy is magnetic, and it is the first boundary that separates the men who attract high-value women from the ones who merely impress them temporarily. But being unavailable is only the beginning. What happens when you're actually together? Because there's a boundary that most men shatter in the first conversation, and it costs them everything. Number 2, the boundary of emotional composure. You do not perform your emotions for her approval. There is a version of vulnerability that builds trust and deepens connection. And then there is a version that repels the very woman you're trying to draw in. The difference is not in what you feel, it's in what you perform. High-value women are emotionally attuned. They read people well. They've usually been in relationships with emotionally volatile men who escalated quickly, who made every disagreement into a storm, who confused intensity with passion, and they are done with that world. When you meet a woman like that and you begin to leak emotional neediness, getting anxious when she doesn't respond, sulking when plans change, becoming visibly destabilized by her moods, you trigger every alarm in her nervous system, not because she wants a robot, not because she's afraid of emotion, but because emotional dysregulation in a man signals one terrifying thing: you cannot be trusted to be the steady presence she needs when life actually gets hard. The boundary of emotional composure is this: you feel everything, but you do not lose yourself in it. You are allowed to be hurt, you are allowed to be disappointed, but you process it with dignity, not performance. There's a scene that plays out in relationships more than people realize. A man is genuinely hurt by something a woman said or did. Instead of naming it clearly and calmly, "That bothered me, and I want to talk about it," he either shuts down completely or explodes. Both responses hand her a weapon she never asked for and shouldn't have. Emotional composure is not suppression, it is sovereignty. It is the ability to say, "I am having a feeling right now, and I am not going to let that feeling make my decisions for me." Women who are grounded and self-aware are not attracted to men who need to be emotionally managed. They are attracted to men who can sit in discomfort without burning the room down, men who can say the hard thing without making it a punishment, men who are present, honest, and unafraid but never unhinged. That kind of man is rare, and rarity in the world of attraction is everything. But here's where it gets darker, because there's a test, an unconscious test, that high-value women run on men, that most men fail without even knowing they're being tested. And it starts with something that looks like kindness. Number 3, the boundary of standards. You do not accept what you would not offer. Let's be honest about something most men don't want to say out loud. Some men will accept almost anything from a woman they're attracted to. They'll excuse behavior that they would never display themselves. They'll tolerate disrespect that they would never inflict. They'll make excuses for patterns that, if reversed, would be unforgivable. And they think this is generosity. They think this is strength. They think it shows maturity to overlook a woman's flaws and love her anyway. But a high-value woman doesn't see it that way. What she sees is a man with no standards for himself. A man so afraid of losing her that he has abandoned the very spine she needed to respect him. The boundary of standards operates on a deceptively simple principle. You only accept from a partner what you are also willing to offer. You offer consistency, you require it. You offer honesty, you require it. You offer respect, presence, loyalty, effort. Those are not gifts you give and then forget to ask for in return. This is not about keeping score. This is about knowing your worth so clearly that you refuse to build something on an uneven foundation. Here's what happens when a man without standards enters the orbit of a high-value woman. She tests, not maliciously, but naturally. Every person tests the people they're considering. She's late once. He adjusts. She's dismissive in public. He laughs it off. She flakes on plans. He reschedules without a word about it. And with every accommodation, every silent acceptance, something in her changes. Not gratitude, not appreciation, disrespect, not because she's cruel, but because the human psyche reads acceptance of poor treatment as a signal that poor treatment is appropriate. When you allow it, you endorse it. And once a woman stops respecting the man she's with, attraction follows inevitably into the same void. A man with real standards doesn't deliver ultimatums. He doesn't punish, he simply communicates once clearly what he is and is not willing to accept, and then he acts in accordance with his words. Every time, that consistency of character is what a high-value woman is looking for. Not perfection, not dominance, but a man who takes himself seriously enough to mean what he says. And yet there's a boundary even deeper than standards. One that most men misunderstand entirely because it's not about what you accept from her. It's about something you need to stop seeking from her altogether. Number 4, the boundary of validation. You do not need her to confirm your worth. This one is quiet. This one operates underground, in the spaces between conversations, in the way you check your phone, in the way your mood rises and falls based on whether she reached out today. And it is, arguably, the most corrosive pattern in modern male psychology. The need for external validation, the need for a woman's attention, approval and affection to tell you that you are good enough doesn't show up as neediness the way most people picture it. It's not always the man texting, "Are you okay?" 15 times. Sometimes it looks like a man changing his opinion the moment a woman pushes back. Sometimes it looks like a man agreeing with her worldview because disagreement feels too risky. Sometimes it looks like a man performing humor or intelligence or success specifically to watch her light up in response and then feeling hollow when she doesn't. A high-value woman has done her own work. She has built her own identity, her own confidence, her own relationship with her worth. And when she encounters a man whose self-image is dependent on her reactions, she does not feel powerful. She feels exhausted because it's not a partnership, it's a burden. The boundary of validation is, at its core, the boundary of self-completeness. It is the declaration that your sense of self was built before she arrived, and it will remain intact whether she stays or goes. That you enjoy her, desire her, value her, but you do not need her to feel like a man worth knowing. This is one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess, and one of the rarest, because society has trained men to seek validation from women as a measure of success, to count approvals like currency, to feel that masculine value is something a woman bestows rather than something a man builds within himself. The man who breaks that cycle, who is genuinely not performatively whole within himself, walks into every room differently. He speaks differently. He listens differently. He doesn't need to impress her because he is not auditioning. He is simply present. And presence, real presence, without agenda or performance, is one of the most devastatingly attractive things a man can bring to any encounter. But we're not done, because there's a boundary that goes beyond self-worth, beyond standards, beyond emotional composure. It's a boundary about your future, and most men hand it away on the 3rd date without realizing it. Number 5, the boundary of vision. Your life's direction is non-negotiable. There's a moment, and if you've been in serious relationships, you know it, where the slow negotiation begins. It starts small. Maybe you loved hiking on Sunday mornings. Then Sunday mornings became her time. Maybe you had a plan, a city you wanted to move to, a business you were building, a way of living you'd designed for yourself. And slowly, without a single dramatic conversation, those things started to dissolve, compromised away, piece by piece, in the name of the relationship. And you told yourself this was what love looked like. This was maturity. This was choosing someone. But here's what was actually happening. You were erasing yourself, and she watched you do it. High-value women, women who are driven, ambitious, clear-eyed about what they want from life, do not want to be the reason a man abandoned his vision. They want to build alongside a man who has one, not a man who defers his entire identity to the relationship. The boundary of vision is simply this: you know where you are going, and that direction belongs to you. A partner can walk beside you, she can influence the journey, she can even change the shape of some things, but she cannot and should not be the architect of your purpose. A man without vision is a man without gravity. There is nothing to orbit, nothing to respect over time. And for a woman who is building her own life with intentionality and drive, a man who has abandoned his becomes a weight rather than a wing. When you hold this boundary clearly, when you continue to pursue what you're building with or without her encouragement, something counterintuitive happens. She leans in because a man on a mission, a man who is building something real and refuses to be pulled off course, is not threatening to her. He is inspiring. She wants to be part of that story. not because she needs to be saved, but because she wants to be chosen by someone who could walk alone and chose to walk with her anyway. That is the kind of man a high-value woman is waiting for. And now we've arrived at the last one, the one I told you about at the beginning, the boundary that most men will read, nod at, and still refuse to implement because it requires something that goes against everything they've been conditioned to do. This is the one that changes the entire game. Number 6, the boundary of departure. You are always willing to walk away, and she knows it. Slow down for a moment, because this one deserves the weight it carries. Everything we've talked about, unavailability, emotional composure, standards, freedom from validation, clarity of vision, all of it is undergirded by a single foundational truth that either makes you magnetic or makes you desperate. Are you willing to leave? Not as a threat, not as manipulation, not as a calculated power move designed to make her chase you, but genuinely, in the place where you make your most honest decisions, in the quiet room of your real self, are you willing to walk away from a woman who does not meet the standards you've set for your life? Most men are not, and she knows. This is the part that sounds almost mystical until you understand the psychology behind it. A woman, especially a high-value woman with developed emotional intelligence, can feel whether a man would actually leave. She can feel it in the way he negotiates. She can feel it in the way he responds to disrespect. She can feel it in the way his voice changes when she challenges him, and when she senses that he will not leave no matter what, when she understands, consciously or not, that his attachment to her exceeds his commitment to himself, the relationship tips, not all at once, slowly, like a scale that has been loaded on one side. She begins to test more, not out of cruelty, but because the human psyche is always searching for edges, for limits, for the shape of the container it's in. When there is no edge, when the container has no walls, she cannot feel safe, because safety, paradoxically, requires that someone is willing to say, this far and no further. The willingness to walk away is not coldness, it is not detachment. It is not the performance of not caring, it is the deepest form of self-respect. It says, I value what we are building enough to protect it from what would destroy it, including patterns that are unsustainable, including disrespect that goes unaddressed, including dynamics that would slowly erode everything I've worked to become. And when a high-value woman encounters this, when she is with a man who genuinely, quietly, without drama or announcement, would choose himself over a situation that no longer serves him, something profound happens in her. She straightens, she pays attention differently, because suddenly she understands this is not guaranteed. This relationship requires her best, not just his. And for a woman who respects herself, that is not a threat. That is the first time in perhaps years that she has felt truly met, equal, matched, seen by someone who is also choosing to be seen. The willingness to walk away is not the end of love. It is the beginning of the only kind of love worth having. What this is really about, let's take a breath and zoom out. Because I want to be clear about something, because this kind of content can be misunderstood. None of these 6 boundaries are about manipulation. None of them are tactics designed to make a woman feel less than. None of them are about games, algorithms, or reverse psychology. They are about one thing, you. They are about building a version of yourself that is so grounded, so clear, so complete in its own identity that the right woman recognizes that immediately, and the wrong ones remove themselves naturally, without drama, without pain. Not every woman you meet will respond to these principles. Some women, to be honest with you, are not looking for a man like the one we've been describing. They are looking for a man they can manage, a man whose fear of losing them gives them power they haven't earned. And that is information, valuable information, because the goal was never to attract every woman. The goal was to attract the right one. These boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are foundations to let the right people in safely and to ensure that what you build together stands on something real. Observe your relationships, the current one or the last one or the one before that. Where did you lose yourself? Where did you hand your power to someone who didn't ask for it and couldn't handle it? Where did you shrink, accommodate, and disappear and tell yourself it was love? I'm not asking you to be angry about it. I'm asking you to see it clearly, because clarity is where change begins. Here is your challenge, not for her, for you. Take one of these 6 boundaries, just one, and decide today that you will implement it. not as a performance, not to attract anyone, but as a declaration to yourself about who you are and what you refuse to compromise. Maybe it's the boundary of unavailability, choosing to build your life so fully that your attention becomes something earned, not given freely. Maybe it's the boundary of validation, identifying one way you've been outsourcing your self-worth and reclaiming that ground. Maybe it's the hardest one, the willingness to walk, sitting with the question, if this relationship, or the next one, or the next one after that, required me to abandon myself, would I stay? And why? That question is not comfortable, but it is necessary, because self-respect is not a destination you arrive at once. It is a choice you make, quietly, every single day. And the men who make that choice consistently, the men who refuse to negotiate themselves away for anyone, are the men who build the kind of love that actually lasts. Not because they demanded it, but because they became someone worthy of it. And then they found someone worthy of them. If this video gave you something, a shift in perspective, a recognition, a single moment where something clicked, please subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming, because the conversations we're having here are only getting deeper. Drop a like on this video if you made it to the end. That tells me this work matters to you, and it helps more men who need this find it. And in the comments, I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 boundaries hit you the hardest? Which one are you going to implement first? Or tell me, where in your own story did you lose your boundaries, and what did it cost you? This community is built on honesty, real honesty, not performance, not posturing, just men doing the work of becoming who they were always supposed to be. You're not here by accident, and you're not too far gone to start. This is Dr. Julie, and I will see you in the next one.